We see the boss and little Lymph walking around the city. He asks a guard, where can he find the teleportation hub? The guard replies, you have still got a long way to go. This area is just the entrance. Hub is outside the Imperial Palace in a castle. You will have to cross 3 more castle walls. If you take a walk it will take at least a week. He gets horrified thinking, that is too long, forget about finding Renee. At this rate, Pedrick will run away from home too. Lymph suggests, what if we use flying magic? But if they keep letting out mana, they will get found out by humans. We see someone approaching them saying, you two look in some trouble. I am sorry for unintentionally eavesdropping, but by any chance are you guys looking to go to the hub? I am the flying coachman, Belver. As he points to his carriage with a strange creature, which is a 4th-generation abandoned homunculus. It is a result of an artificial angel manufacturing plan. It is strong, follows orders, and can fly. It was abandoned because it could not bring out its original purpose. Lymph asks, is the human's homunculus experimentation over? Belver replies, there is no way the Empire would give up this kind of power. There are still stories about homunculi being mass-produced somewhere. Boss asks, are they not usually incubated in giant flasks? Belver replies, that is for 1st-generation incubation done 150 years ago. Hearing that, Boss thinks, has it already been that long since Renee was born? Lymph asks, it looks durable enough. How long will it take to reach the hub? Belver replies flight will take 3 hours and 1 hour for inspection at each castle wall. For the 2 of you, I will only charge 8 ounces of gold. Boss is astonished, thinking that 800 ounces of silver is 100 times more expensive than yesterday's tavern fees. Lymph and the boss discuss about not having that much money. As Boss looks through his clothes, he finds a letter and some gold coins by Pedrick saying, our clumsy boss, one day you will be thankful to me for this. And they start their journey. As they are flying, Lymph asks, you are a monster from a dungeon, how are you able to go around so freely? Boss replies, saying I got kicked out, a suitable response. She asks if the person we are looking for also got kicked out and Boss agrees. She feels jealous, saying that even after leaving the dungeon, you still care about your associates to the end. I want a colleague like that as well. I want to live a life like you. A life where we can take care of each other like this. After flying for a while, they reach the Street of Gold and Pleasure Survey Rose. But they met with disappointment learning that the hub has been shut down for the security of today's auction. After that, VIPs will use the hub, so higher-ups will allow it, so come around 8 p.m. Boss asks, why are you closing the hub for one auction? Guard replies, yes, because a quite rare item was exhibited this time, showing him a paper. It is Beheading Fang, which had unknown whereabouts and suddenly was put on display. Looking at that, Boss thinks, I have seen this somewhere before. This is the same weapon that Renee uses. But Boss is surprised to hear he might be mistaken, since only one of these weapons exists in the world. He is shocked, thinking, this is definitely Renee's weapon. Why is it in the hands of humans? It cannot be. Renee got captured by humans. No, that is impossible. Even the bosses of 7 evil dungeons cannot mess with her easily. She is not called Blade Maid for nothing. He tries to remember if she was holding a blade when she left. But she was wearing a dress that did not have any pockets, and she threw daggers at me when she mistook me as an enemy. She never fights with less than 5 weapons. If you take away the blades from the Blade Maid, what will be left of her? He starts to revert to his original form with anger, and his aura starts leaking out as he asks, did Renee got killed by mere humans? As the boss gets angrier, he says, if Renee was killed by humans, it is only right for me to kill every bastard here. Lymph holds his hand, trying to calm him down. He asks her, that weapon, there is only one in the whole world, correct? According to her knowledge, it was the truth. She replies, why ask this all of a sudden? And he tells her that the friend he has been looking for, it belongs to her. I have to find it. You do not have to help me anymore, and thanks her for the help she did in this short time, warning her that she should get out of this place as soon as possible. Lymph asks if the friend he has been looking for, the demon that takes form of a silver-haired woman, a warrior who wields the Beheading Fang, the Blade Maid, Lady Renee. With an awkward laugh she says, that vicious voice of yours cannot scare me, as I have already figured out your identity. If you claim Lady Renee is your friend, then you must be the master of the Primordial Core, Lord Devourer. His underling, I am sure of it. I know what you are thinking right now, so I shall help you and you will not object. He asks, for Demon King, are you okay with such simple reasoning? She tells him, it is not logical who becomes king, but the Demon King who dictates logic. As boss calms down a bit, she says, that face, that is the Sir Devd. I know that. I am glad you are back to yourself. I shall assist you from now on, so worry not. And promise her to never use that voice to say such things. Outside the auction house, we see Lymph in her older form asking the guard if they can join the auction. Guard asks them to identify themselves first. She introduces herself as Mel's of House Agria, and my attendant Devd. As the guard checks for their names unable to find it on the list, she tells Dev to show the invitation. Guards tells them that there were no invitations sent. Boss punches him in the face saying, here is your invitation to the afterlife. Boss asks Lymph why did she wear something like this, and she tells him, are you afraid of being charmed by my fabulous self? He tells her you are just a kid, so dress like one. They start moving as Lymph starts throwing tantrums. Inside the Chait castle, we see Renee. As she mumbles, Renee can no longer return to the Primordial Core as she cries. 80 years ago, Graphenia Forest was set ablaze. We see Boss consoling the Witch of the Forest, telling her he returned the favor to those humans, and the forest will recover in no time. As he knows that this forest has been a fortress for the Primordial Core, so he needs to make a good impression on her. All the humans who started the fire are dead, her anger will gradually subside. There was another matter he needed to think about, as he got intrigued by looking at a weak and caged female homunculus. He thinks about killing her too as to not leave any witnesses, but then he tells her the final words of her master saying that she is free and can leave if she wants to. He tells her as he breaks open the prison bars, I am not saying I will help you, it is your choice if you want to die trapped here or outside, it is up to you Lillo. He says that her master was looking for something here, it must be you. My mercy born of curiosity ends here and he disappears. Lillo was a title addressed to the most talented maid. This was the first time someone called her by that as she sheds tears of joy and freedom. Outside the demon castle, we see Renee sitting on a cliff. As Elizabeth tells her about the raid force sent to Primordial Core, Renee is still sad and would deny to go back, so Elizabeth tells her, I value your happiness but you should make sure to settle all your problems. Those two will look for you everywhere. If they find out you were tricked by humans, what do you think? Those two will destroy everything. If you are going to live in the shadows, erase all your tracks. Because of the raid force, the Primordial Core will be busy. This is the best time to do so. Renee tells her, I will be going far away for some fresh air. Elizabeth is worried as she notices that Renee's right eye was getting blurry. Renee tells her not to worry and asks for her blades. In the capital, we see the boss trying to get the location of the beheading Fawn. The helpless guard tells him it was submitted by the magic tower of Haston. Boss thanks him for the information and lets him live. As they were leaving, the guard thought, I almost died, I am just a guard, what did I do wrong? Boss subtly appears from behind saying, that is right, you have done nothing wrong. You just happened to catch my attention, unfortunately, as he reveals his true form, saying, what do you guys call it when you enter our territory? You use fancy words like raid, not massacre or slaughter, right? Have you ever felt sorry for the monsters you kill? Did they do anything wrong at all? It is the same for me, as he devours him. Inside the auction hall, the price for beheading Fawn keeps on rising. There were two strong people for the security, Hero, Wu in Historia, and Hero, Tracker Garrett. As the big caller was about to give the final call to end this auction, we see Boss grabbing him and saying, I will be the one ending this auction and all of you who are gathered here to buy this weapon, instilling fear and despair onto everyone present. We see Historia rushing into battle mode, but Garrett stops her as she realizes that the thing in front of her is far too dangerous. Boss can feel traces of Renee emanating from the weapon. He is now sure that Renee was tricked by humans. He tells everyone that the details are too complicated, so I will just return this to its original owner. People start yelling at the guards to do something about the situation. Hearing that, Boss tell them, looks like you have no intention of sending me off nicely. I feel the same way. I am going to rip you all to pieces and bury you with this blade. Historia jumps in yelling, I will not allow that. Looking at her, Boss thinks even with such speed and battle gear, you got no talent for it. I will grab those hands of yours and smash those gauntlets. Historia throws a punch, and Boss blocks it with his bare hands, but he gets thrown back to the wall with the impact. Historia thinks she did it. As she hears the boss from the dust cloud, she thinks he is still alive. That technique destroys most dungeon bosses in an instant. She cannot figure out who is this monster in front of her. Boss goes into Devourer mode to swallow her. We see Garrett coming from the back as Historia tells her not to come closer. We see Lymph asking the boss if he is alright. She thought he died a helpless death. Boss thinks that attack was not something a human is capable of delivering. If something like that had hit my heart, it could have undone my polymorph. Pedrick would have scolded me like hell for that. As Boss thinks about the fight, while he is distracted by Historia, Garrett casts several layers of protection and escapes at the same time, making him smart, piquing his interest in humans more. Somewhere in the streets, we see Historia has fallen into the ground. It was making her feel ashamed after being defeated by just one attack from a monster. She looks around for Garrett. She comes in saying, "How can I hear you if speak so softly?" making her relieved to see that she is alive too. Garrett starts pulling Historia's cheek saying, "If I was not there, we would be preparing for your funeral right now." Historia notices that Garrett has lost her left arm during that fight, and she starts crying and feeling sorry. Garrett yells at her saying, "Get a hold of yourself, you are a hero. If it is just one arm, then it's nothing. Do you even know what you are up against? The monster of the Primordial Core, the Devourer." Historia thinks of it as a joke saying, "Why would a monster like that come here?" Garrett tells her that she does not know the reason, but she is certain it was him. On that monster's foot were traces hero Vern, that looked less than a month old. This is more serious than we thought. If this continues, this empire might fall. Historia yells, "We should make more efforts to stop him. This is human territory after all." Garrett tells her this is not something that we can figure out with strength alone. We need Demon Subjugation Squad's assistance and report to the Imperial family. I will move by myself first. In my current condition, I cannot teleport both of us. She starts healing Historia, telling her to stay here and wait here for her. Garrett uses her magic to teleport inside the destroyed auction building. We see the boss thinking if he should chase those who escaped or just go straight to Hasten. Since he has recovered beheading Fang, there is another goal he must not forget, that is to at least find Renee's body. As Boss tells Lymph to prepare for the goal, she looks distressed about something. When asked, she tells him, "I knew you were strong, but the more I learn, the stronger you seem to be than I expected." She asks him, "Who is stronger between Lady Renee and you?" Boss taps her on the head saying, "Why be depressed over something like this? I am just Sir Devd. Once everything is taken care of, I will tell you the truth. Now let us show them a Demon King's power." She transforms into her adult form and uses magic called Reconstruct, destroying the whole area in an instant. Historia looks at the scene from the streets thinking, that is the direction of the auction house, doing such a thing in the middle of the capital, those bastards. She is hesitant about what to do as she thinks about what Garrett told her before leaving. Suddenly a child grabs her hand asking her to save her father. Her doubts fade away as she starts walking towards the direction of the explosion, telling everyone to not worry anymore as I am the hero. Wu and Historia, I will never avoid a monster like that. Boss comes out from the wreckage, asking her what the hell she did just now. Lymph explains, "Reconstruction, it is high-ranking magic that causes ground to collapse. Everything is all tidy now." Boss says, "Were there no other magic she could have used?" She replies, "Do not blame me for this. You started posing and said let us finish things, so I used the coolest magic. If you were going to complain, you should have told me specifically what magic to use. Situation is now getting complicated now." Boss asks her if she remembers the way to Teleportation Hub, and asks her to go there and take care of it, since the humans will be flocking that way. And he leaves to make arrangements so he can go to Hasten as soon as he arrives there to Lymph. She asks, "You have been talking about Hasten for a while, where exactly is that place?" Boss replies, "You know where the Primordial Core is, right? It is the closest town to there." They both leave to complete their current tasks. Boss comes across a group of people telling him they are Blue Crane Subjugation Team. They ask him to identify himself. Looking at that, Boss thinks, they are all busy getting into formation. Why humans are like that? I heard a large group was gathered around the auction house, but it was just some soldiers from someone inside. Boss tells them, "You want to know my identity? I am your enemy," as he starts revealing his Devourer form inside the Primordial Core. We hear Sylvia saying, "It is said whoever enters this cave never returns alive," as she keeps annoying Nifrim. Then she says, "Is it not strange? The first room we came across was full of corpses, but this room is too clean, as if someone was cleaning." Nifrim asks his team what they think of this. As they start to discuss, there is no way subjugation team would have advanced cleaning up the place. What if it was cleaned by a monster with intelligence? Nifrim notices something and yells, "Do not play tricks. Are you deceiving us, monster?" From the darkest part of the cave we hear a voice saying, "You are so loud, it makes my ribs echo. I did not clean it to deceive you, it was just unsightly to see it all lying around. I did it because I heard guests were coming to our home." Nifrim asks Sylvia to cast a light spell, Illuminate. As the cave lights up, we see Pedrick sitting there saying, "Even though we did not call for you, welcome to our home." Nifrim realizes this is the Death Knight Pedrick. He asks everyone to calm down, putting away their weapons and staffs. Nifrim tries an sudden attack, as Pedrick blocks it saying, "You do not have any manners, give me some time to breathe at least." He is hit by an ICE spell, but it has no effect as he says, "One versus all is definitely too much for me, even though I will win of course." Nifrim and Pedrick start fighting toe-to-toe. Pedrick notices something as his sword falls out of his hand, saying, "You are strong for a human, secret to your strength is buff magic," as he thinks, "Those buffs would not last long, I just need to last till that." But he is suddenly gets stacked with different types of negative debuffs as he falls to the ground. Nifrim stands on top of him saying, "Who will beat who you said?" Pedrick compliments him for using magic to drive him into a corner. Looking at that, Sylvia thinks, "Is that it? Primordial Core is not all that much I guess." Pedrick looks at her thinking, "Should I have gotten rid of this mage first?" Nifrim stomps him into ground, trying to stab him with all his strength. To his surprise, Pedrick blocks the sword holding it in his fingertips, starts laughing, and says, "That was fun, I was really immersed in my acting this time. I have been bored for a long time, even if I was acting, I wanted to experience the feeling of crisis once." With a sinister gaze he says, "Thank you for playing along my rhythm everyone."